As way of a brief introduction, my name is Hamish Wright, and I'm the Education Skills Lead at the Nous Group, one of Australia's leading management consultancies. I was first introduced to the Mallee 4 years ago when I had the opportunity to work with the Victorian Skills Commissioner on a pilot for a new approach to understanding the needs of the region. The Commissioner was a strong believer that to understand the labour and skills needs of an economy, you're best to speak to local employers. Coming into this work, I was apprehensive about what we'd find. The administrative data we traditionally relied upon painted a bleak picture of an economy and community in decline. How wrong this was proved to be. I still remember to this day the data being presented to the task force of local employers, who then proceeded for the remainder of the meeting to educate us on why the numbers are wrong and that the region was about to enter a period of unprecedented growth. 3 years later, I had the opportunity to come back to answer the question, who was right, local employers or the data, and to refresh the outlook for the region. Today, I'll share with you my findings. So what did we find? Employers were right to be optimistic. In the 3 years from 2016 to 2019, employment increased from 36,000 to 38,000 people. But more impressively, nearly 4,400 jobs were created, both in terms of new jobs and replacements for retirees. This was at the upper end of even our most optimistic forecast at the completion of the original work. These jobs were spread across the region. Healthcare and social assistance led the way, but all industries showed growth. Even those that on the surface experienced declines had pockets of growth, such as food manufacturing. So what does the future hold? Local employers anticipate employment growth to continue despite COVID-19. Growth is anticipated across most, if not all, the sectors of the Mallee. Most jobs anticipated in horticulture, construction, healthcare and social assistance, and education and training. But opportunities will exist in every sector, whether they be new jobs or in terms of replacing those that have retired or left the region. But the challenges employers face is while the jobs are there, the people to fill these jobs will not necessarily be. The Mallee has traditionally relied upon people coming in from outside of the region to fill these jobs. Domestic immigration and international immigration have been important, but largely net themselves off with those leaving the region. School leavers are therefore critical in supporting local businesses and communities to succeed and thrive. As a student looking to take their first steps into the labour force, there's really no wrong move. Multiple pathways exist to jobs based on different levels of education, whether it's Year 12, vocational education and training, or higher education and training. Jobs are anticipated to exist. Although the greatest demand by employers are likely to be jobs supported by vocational education and training, particularly in health and community services, and via apprenticeships and traineeships. So what are the jobs that employers highlighted? I'll step through these in a bit more detail shortly. Employers really articulate three kinds of jobs they look for: specialised roles, high volume roles, and seasonal labour. Specialised roles are those roles that really often require advanced professional qualifications, but demand or total demand is relatively small. Only specific organisations have these roles and typically only need a few people. These roles often also require years of experience that's difficult to acquire at a single employer in the region. Once filled, maybe a long time before a similar role arises. High volume roles, in contrast, are those with a large and steady demand for workers. Employers are regularly looking for new workers with multiple opportunities per employer. School leavers study qualifications in these areas, they will find work. And they represent the majority of jobs in the region. Finally, seasonal labour. I don't think I need to talk through this in detail, but obviously these are typically more low, unskilled and required for short periods during the year on a regular cycle, predominantly found across agricultural industries and also in highly seasonal industries such as retail and hospitality, or tourism and hospitality. And to date, demand is typically met by transient workers such as backpackers or visa holders. So within these categories, what are the more specific opportunities for school leavers? In specialised roles, just highlighted a few of the roles that were repeatedly identified by employers as being critical to the region. I won't step through each one in detail, but you can see on the slide the specific roles. Similarly, in high volume roles, in each sector, a number of roles were identified as being more important or harder to fill. And you see in all industries, these exist. And finally, with seasonal labour, and as mentioned, agricultural industries, retail, hospitality, tourism have the highest demand there. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of our findings from both the Regional Skills Demand Profile and recent Pulse Check. But what does all this mean for school leavers? Look, our findings indicate 4 key things. First, you don't need to leave the region to find meaningful and rewarding employment, but some opportunities are more limited than others. For these ones, if you're interested, I would encourage you to reach out to local employers and talk about what might be some of the local pathways. Second, don't focus as much on the first job as the career that it might lead to. A farmhand is often the first step towards a farm manager. An apprentice is often the first step to being a small business owner in manufacturing or construction or many other industries. Third, the opportunity for further education is one that will remain with you for your lifetime. If you're not clear on your next step, try some things out. And finally, ultimately, if you're passionate about the work, demonstrate the capability to learn, work hard, you will be in demand, no matter which direction you choose to follow. Thank you.